Pirate Life Radio. Exciting group of stuff that's going to be coming out on the show for about the next 6 weeks or so. We're going to have, and there's going to be some extra ones that I throw in the middle too, but we're going to have some of the speakers and guests that spoke and participated at Paleo Effects in Austin, Texas, which is kind of a meeting spot for people that are in this kind of group thought of bettering their lives emotionally, physically, spiritually, and all the ways that people do that. And then people come with their products also. There's a lot of biohackers and life hackers that are there, as much as it makes me choke on the words to say those things. But there's some very legit fucking people here, not a lot of the charlatans that are around. And it's also a great time because you just see some great old people that you hadn't seen in a while and that I don't get to run into a whole lot other than being there. Today on the podcast, we've got a wonderful woman named Krisstina Wise, and I met Krisstina through a good friend, Kirk Parsley, who has been on the podcast before and will be again in a few weeks. And he's the guy that owns Sleep Remedy. If you have heard the name before, that's what he's associated with. I met him through another buddy, Rob Wolf. Rob, of course, ditched out on the podcast and had to leave early because he's very, very famous and has a lot to do. But he's got this new book that's out that you ought to check out called Wired to Eat. And we just weren't able to hook up and get together. I saw him briefly and then he was gone. But anyway, a lot of great stuff happened in the interim. And I had no idea who Krisstina was or anything. And her story was fascinating to me. She had a lot of metal poisoning. Her body wasn't acclimating to even metal fillings in her teeth and stuff like that. She got very, very sick. She's a hyper type A personality, a go-getter, let's win at life, and was working herself into a grave. And I won't go too much into the story. I'll let her tell it, but fantastic. I got to sit down with Krisstina and Lacey Mackey, and Lacey, of course, my partner in Caveman Coffee and a veritable genius of a businesswoman and inspiring persona in her own right. Also, if you want to check out her podcast, Grown Ass Woman's Coffee Club, you can listen to her and some of my friends and her friends that have a weekly podcast that goes out all the time. She's also featured on the OPP on Ryan Muncie's podcast for Natural Stacks and lays it down there. Today, Krisstina Wise, real estate mogul, millionaire coach. She coaches people with money how to be better with money, and she runs a wealthy life podcast and tells her story about averting death, basically. I want to thank Caveman Coffee for bringing us this podcast and bringing us to the party. Fantastic. We've got a bunch of good specials going on right now on cold brew concentrate. There's always shipping benefits that if you follow our newsletter or if you follow our stories on Instagram at Caveman Coffee Co. on Instagram, you can always get the latest of what's going on. We post there multiple times a day, and you can hear it either on my site or Lacey's site also. Always have good deals and trying to accommodate to bring the best things at the best prices, and where we can shave shipping costs off, or if we get a deal on a bulk order or something like that, we always pass that on to the consumers. So you can find us at cavemancoffee.com or cavemancoffeeco.com and check us out there. And I'd also like to thank Sauna Space. Sauna Space is a wonderful, wonderful item that I picked up last year. And Sauna Space is, I guess what I would call it, a pocket sauna. Its dimensions are small. It's tucked away in the corner of my house. It's an infrared sauna. All the benefits of an infrared sauna, if you're not sure what that is, it's, they tout a full body detoxification and revitalization with this near infrared therapy. I go in about 20 minutes a day. For me, it's a quiet space. It's my safe space, guys, that I can just get away and I can meditate. And I don't have any electronics in there. I don't have any distractions. And I can just sit and meditate for my morning and my night sessions. And it's been a fantastic thing in my life that's made me adhere to meditation in a bigger way than I have in years. It also penetrates with this light and heat therapy at the mitochondrial level. It provides natural healing and an alliance of light and heat. It's a beautiful design. It's just a double-walled canvas, easy to put together. I mean, I put it together in 20 minutes or something like that, and I'm not inclined to put anything together very well. I failed at Legos when I was a kid. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. They're all handcrafted, handmade, beautiful balsa wood stool. It's really, really a gorgeous thing. And so anyway, these beautiful sons of bitches over at Sauna Space, they said, hey, we could help you make a podcasting tent for when you go to these events and stuff like that. And so they made this badass big tent, like on a large scale, where we fit a table in, and you could fit 6 or 8 people in there pretty comfortably around a table and chop it up, man, and have great conversations. And so that's where these conversations came from. You're going to have to excuse the sound quality. I didn't quite have it dialed in. It was the first time that we tried using a mixer. And so there's some little slight disturbances in there, but it's easy to overlook. Great content in these. So Sauna Space, you can find them at saunaspace.com. SAUNASPACE.com. You can also find Sauna Space online on Instagram at Sauna Space, simply at Sauna Space. These are everything is naturally selected, natural fibers, hand tooled. All the metal and analog components, they're all it's all breathable fabric. This canvas, there's no plastic or EMF issues to add toxicity to your space. Tungsten lamps that are incandescent, and a natural thermal light spectrum of red and near infrared and thermal infrared light wavelengths. It's all the good stuff. And they took all the stuff from old sauna technologies and brought them into the new age. And you can listen there in a couple weeks. Podcast with the owner of Sauna Space will be up. Also, there's a lifetime warranty, 100-day free trial, 100% money back guarantee. And that's saunaspace.com. This podcast and all of these podcasts are also brought to you by Strength Crate. And you can find them at Strength Crate. It's a premium CrossFit subscription box. These subscription boxes, there's a few of them out there. There's some really great ones. And they just it's like, if you're a guy that is like, oh, I like all these different things and I don't know what's brand new, and you want to kind of stay abreast of all that stuff, Strength Crate's a great option, man. You can go in there and you get a subscription box. And what it does is it brings up the best supplements, snacks, apparel, training aids, gear, and it comes right to your door. And so you get a little taste of all these new companies that maybe you wouldn't have known about anyway. And so they're, just these little samples that are out there and little products. And we can give you some, and some of it though, some of them are not just samples. They send out full month's worth of supplements and sandbags, Olympic rings, Caveman products are in there, of course, and much more. So if you can sign up to Strength Crate, you can get that at strengthcrate.com. And it's fantastic, man. I mean, you can go in there and you can get a little taste of everything that's kind of on the tip of the spear in fitness, health, mental acuity, all these types of things. Use Pirate Life for 10% off your first box. So Pirate Life will get you 10% off your first box at Strength Crate. Well worth it. Cancel anytime, whatever. And, get your shit together. It gives you a little peek. For me, man, it gives me a peek into a new world. And I go, man, I never knew this existed. And what's so cool about all these things in this world, in this wellness capacity, is the fact that it's so fresh and it's changing all the time that we always we get to look at it with a new lens. Somebody else is like, hey, this isn't on the market yet. My friend Mark Sisson, he didn't see a mayonnaise with avocado oil that was ketogenic and that was beautiful for your body and didn't have high fructose corn syrup and all these other things that a lot of the canola oil that all mayonnaise is made with. It wasn't on the market, so he made it. He designed it over the last couple of years and he put it out, and you can find it at Primal Kitchen. Stuff like that, man. There's people out here innovating. My buddy Aubrey at onit.com. You can look at that stuff and you can go, Jesus, man, I never even knew this was needed, but God, I need this. How have I lived without it? And how do I live better? Because I guess that's the thing, is like we're all looking at how to live better, Anyway, we're doing a giveaway also with Sauna Space. We're doing a one-of-a-kind Pirate Life home infrared sauna. It's going to be all black and custom for one winner. The details are going to get announced on the Pirate Life Instagram, Sauna Space Instagram, and via the Pirate Life email list. So if you go ahead and text me at the Pirate Life, either at piratelifepodcast.com or else the best bet is to go to Pirate Life Instagram. Go to my inbox, DM me, slide into my DMs, you motherfuckers, and then get on that email list for Pirate Life. That way, when you are a subscriber, you'll get all the best shit. And so this is a free, it's got, I don't know if it's a $2,000 value, but you're going to get a free Sauna Space sauna. And so just slide in with your email and we'll get you from there. That's at Pirate Life Radio or at pirateliferadio.com. Find us on Instagram though, at Pirate Life Radio or at Sauna Space. At Strength Crate is the subscription box. Get at us there. Also, big ups to Doc Parson and Sleep Cocktail, man. Man, I don't know if you guys have ever had poor sleep or whatever, but I used to be like, just tough it out. Like I used to think that as an athlete too. I had dumb ideas, and if you're an athlete, you probably have dumb ideas too. And that is, I work harder and I'll get more done because all an athlete knows how to do is work. Just work harder. And the thing is we never grow during that. We've got to recover. And we've got to pay attention to what our recovery is. And that's why I fuck with all this stuff. That's why the sauna's for me. That's why the Siltep. That's why the Alpha Brain before I go to bed at night. That's why I take care of myself to all these degrees. And that's why I really take care, and I don't have any problem with paying a couple extra bucks for healthy grass-fed steaks that are coming from my neighborhood. I want to have the best. I want a nurturing, nourishing part of this world, you know, especially in this time right now where we are. I mean, fuck, I just watched Comey's testimony. I don't know if you guys saw that. I'm really jumping right out of these ads right into this, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Both sides after Comey testified are like, we won. We were both exonerated. And I'm like, that is literally impossible, you guys. Like, it's not that way at all. And these spins on news, I've got to get more into it and entrenched in watching these fucking C-SPAN hearings. I've got to know what's going on in a different way. And it's a brand new world with which to do that with the technology that we have. And to stay abreast of these things and to know who the real enemy is and who's on your side, man, it's not big corporations. I know that. I know that it's not the federal government. I know that. I mean, fuck, we've been usurped. Russia bought the last election. I thought, I was like, man, maybe Trump's the guy. Maybe he's going to do great shit. And then you see he's stolen everything. And now he's just like, he's like a LA fucking looter back in 91, right? He's like, I think that was the looting. He's like fucking stomping Thomas Denny's head and stealing TVs out of the fucking shop. That's what he's doing, man. He's getting all the light fixtures out of the White House right now and signing billion-dollar deals with Putin to sell America to Russia. Like, that's for sure what's happening. I say for sure because I'm like a political economist and sociology expert. But man, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on, people. But what I'm saying is, the more information we have, the better we can make good, valuable decisions outside of that. I watched that jackass Jeff Sessions also the other day, and he is a trip, man. That's just an old, tired man that needs to go to sleep and not wake up, like or go to a farm somewhere. Like, you're like an old. He's like, I don't know if he was a member of the KKK, but spoke out in favor of that. Like, he's a trip, man. That guy is still viable, and Washington says how sick Washington is. It says how sick our current administration is. It's disgusting, man. It's a blight. However, what'll get you through that is Jumbo Superfoods. See how I did that? Go right into the next ad. Listen, man, Jumbo Superfoods, it's not even an ad. These are just my buddies, man. I don't know if you guys have seen my Instagram lately about it. I've been hanging around with this bad motherfucker named Harrison, and Harrison was born in 1925. And that dude is a G. He stormed the beaches in Italy. He was preparing to storm the beaches in Japan. He was an international drug smuggler. We're going to do a whole podcast about this, so it's not like I'm putting him on blast. But anyway, Jumbo really hooked him up because those knuckleheads over at the old folks home, Harrison was having trouble sleeping, so of course they gave him oxycodone because that makes sense, right? I hit up my buddies over there. And they said, dude, let us send you a little package to your spot in LA. And so I got a gift package, and they have these sprays, these CBD sprays and these cannabis sprays that make him sleep comfortably and well without any of the bad. Because what we noticed about how I found out that he was on the narcotics was because he couldn't have a bowel movement for 4 days. And it's just, I mean, man, it's poison on top of poison. Anyway, JumboSuperfoods.com, they've helped heal him and take him into the next level of his wellness. He was telling me yesterday after we were at the gym and we started walking, and he's just relearning how to walk upright with big, long strides. And he goes, I feel like hanging out with you. I'm starting to get my mojo back. The dude is a boss, man. He humbles me. His strength, his mental tenacity. He won't let me help him in my truck. My truck is like, it's not easy to get into for me. And he's a little 92-year-old dude, and he's just like, he's amazing. Anyway, I want to thank you guys at Jumbo so much, man. You guys, Kyle, Justin, you guys have just changed a man's life. Also, my friend Jen up at Rogue Raw in Oregon. If you look at rogueraworegon.com, they're changing the cannabis edible game, and it's all just natural foods and let me pull it up really quick, and so I can tell you exactly. Natural fruits, nuts, almonds, coconut, blueberries. These are what they make their bars with. And they're just, their attention to detail. I mean, they're a beautiful family up there that's just trying to make a difference through cannabis. And we've seen it. Fuck, man, I had no idea. But the more and more I'm involved with it, and the more I'm involved with Harrison and seeing people in the healthcare industry that are getting dynamic results. And my DMs fill up with stories about people that stage 4 cancer has been disappeared by, I mean, and I don't know, I'm not trying to make health claims, but I'm just saying that there's stuff that we ought to explore. And that's why I mentioned guys like the fuckery and chicanery of like the Jeff Sessions of the world and all that kind of stuff. These people are at war against American citizens. Like, that's what they're there for. They're there to put more American citizens in jail for victimless crimes that don't harm anybody, that actually help people. And they're doing it so that they can help their pockets, so that they can help the prison, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, that is now a privatized system. Or not, the Federal Bureau is not, but the state prison system is all a federal or all a privatized system. And he said something as crazy. I'm going to quote it maybe a little wrong, but he said, "I will not be in support of marijuana, which is just slightly less harmful than heroin." Huh? What's that, Jeff? Because you're old as fuck. Maybe it's time to not talk anymore. Like, Jesus Christ. There's not one death ever associated with that, but your pharmaceutical companies that I'm sure that you're stock heavy in, they kill people on the daily all the time. And nobody talks about that, Jeff. So if you want to get on the podcast, Mr. Sessions, I would fucking love that. You would probably not like it so much. At any rate, that's about all that's going on. I'm recording this live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Taking care of a couple of puppies right now. Hank is in jail. He's in jail till next Wednesday. Guy reached in my friend's car and fucking Hank grabbed him. And then Hank had to go to jail to do a 10-day cool-out period to make sure that he doesn't have AIDS or something, which he doesn't. Hank is STD-free, just for all you lady dogs out there that are thinking about that. But God, this dude, I don't know. I'll have more information about that. That dude's now saying that he's in a lot of pain and he can't do yoga and work out very well. He's like a life coach too. He's one of these cocksuckers. Anyway, I might put him on blast later. We'll see how bad it goes. But he tried to extort money from my mom. It's not cool, bro. Anyway, I could get into trouble, I suppose, pretty easily having a pulpit like this. Krisstina Wise, y'all. I feel like I've gone on and on. I'm so goddamn sorry. Lacey Mackey, Krisstina Wise, please enjoy this podcast.
A big Tait Fletcher.
Powerful Tait Fletcher.
Is a real alpha male.
Weightlifter.
He's a stuntman.
Movie star.
Robust, enthusiastic individual.
He's huge, by the way. He's like a monster person.
One of the sweetest guys I know.
He's bigger than life.
Actor.
Entrepreneur.
A fighter.
The jiu-jitsu technician.
He's also bald and he has all these tattoos. He's just a big, fucking man.
A man, a myth, a legend.
Tait Fletcher.
Tait Fletcher.
What's up, Tait Fletcher, you bad motherfucker?
Tait Fletcher. Tait Fletcher is
Tait Fletcher.
Teddy bear motherfucking Fletcher, ladies and gentlemen.
That's Tait Fletcher, everybody.
The great Tait Fletcher. Tait the animal Fletcher. Tait the savage Fletcher. Always moving. There's no stillness with Tait Fletcher. You will find no dust.
Tait Fletcher's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. He just said the word erection.
Tait Fletcher.
Tait Fletcher's in the fucking house. Tait Fletcher!
Tait really blasts out some serious hardcore truth bombs, and I think you're really going to enjoy it.
And welcome. We'll just go live at it, I guess. And so as far as like, and I talked to a kid yesterday, and he said, what do you think the big difference is? He's one of these guys I've known for a while, and he's had a lot of different interests in life, and he's like, I'm gung-ho about this, man. I'm gonna die for this one, and then to the next one, and then this is my new thing, and there's never a long enough look into the thing to be able to really do the thing service and be good about it, and so I think that's like, I don't know what it looks like, but I think it's about being highly involved, 100% committed to what it is that you're doing, and having a mission statement. And like, if you don't have a mission statement, everything that's shiny is going to look good. Not all those things are going to speak to your mission statement. If you don't have one, you're purposeless. And he suffers from a depression in a way that is debilitating. And so when I started talking to him about it, I was like, you need to have a mission statement for your life, man. You need to know who is this and what's this about. It's kind of like being here in the Paleo movement, I think, and it's about knowing the intricacies of your body, at least in a grotesque way. Like, I know what all the macronutrients are. I know how they feed me or how they mitigate me, or like all those different things. And I think if you don't know those things, you're at such a it could seem like you need magic to help you, because I think that's what religion plays in a lot of that, because you want to be told what to do because it seems so out of your hands.
Or a pill. And
when you become empowered, I was talking to like Mark Sisson is amazing too. Like he and Rob Wolf really changed my life, and I think Lacey's life, and Keith in a huge way, because they brought in empowerment. It's not that I'm not going to eat a Snickers bar, or whatever, but it's like, I know what that does, and at least and that's all I've ever wanted. And I think when we started Caveman Coffee, for instance, and kind of everything, it speaks through my mission statement what it is. And I think what we want with our company is to be able to have people ask questions, empower them, and educate them to a degree of how do you pirate your life back, because there's all sorts of forces in the market that are looking to detract from that, and the government is a shadow of that market. So the government's going to give you some misinformation, and you're maybe not led in the right way. So that's a little bit like a background of who we are a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just like a punch-drunk ex-fighter, and she's like a super athlete that is a wonderful guerrilla marketer. And then our other partner, Keith, is also an ex-fighter. And so that I don't know how we got here.
Love it.
You know, the thing I thought was interesting, though, especially yesterday in the talk, was that there was one of the panelists was like, you need to know exactly who you're doing it with, what you're doing, and where you're going, and what your end game is. And everybody successful is going to know that end game. And I go, I think that's bullshit. I think that you get into the game, and then other things come up, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll do this, and I'll serve this one now, and I'll be a good steward of that. And then all these other things come up.
Yeah, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself to like the thing you didn't know was possible, or like the new thing that comes up, or let it take a life of its own.
Yeah, do you know a lot of people that are like, I want this end result, and I'm going there? Because the way that same guy taught me, he said, Tait, you do the work, and the results are up to the universe, man. He says, you can't be in the results business. You try to orientate a result all the time, and you end up in madness because something is askew, and then you come out sour to everybody around you, and you're going to ruin your own soul, like is how it was put to me. I don't know, that sounds really like this outlandish thing, but like, does that, for somebody that's so adept at the business world and has talked to so many people, what do you think about it?
Well, I love that question, because that's part of my story. My story was pre-2013, business person, hardcore, had the goal, had the objective, knew where I was going. If people didn't fit into this, I dropped them off the back of the bus. So it was almost a cold, but it was so goal-oriented and focused and driven and precise and intentional. And I never even stopped to know if I was happy or not, or if it's good enough. And no matter where I got, and I had a lot of success and really reached the proverbial top of my industry, which was real estate, was known as a thought leader, a disruptor, woman of the future in real estate and
Those
technology.
are powerful terms, thought leader and disruptor.
I know.
That's
so all
huge.
these in ego, I'm like,
It makes you feel like, yeah.
Right, but no matter where I got, it was never good enough. There's always something better. And it just, life was a grind, is because there's no enjoyment or fulfillment or meaning except to get to the next level.
Right.
So I was in that, and I probably would have stayed there because I didn't know anything different. It's just sort of the entrepreneurial business, finance, money world is the achievement world, what I call the achievement world. And it's so much cultural too, like achievement, success, notoriety, status, stuff.
Those are the goals.
Those are the goals.
The
and
end
it's
game.
so built in. Like I was oblivious to the fact that there might be anything else.
Right.
But then when I got sick in 2013 and was fighting for my life, I mean, now I'm on I was at the proverbial top within 1 minute. Within like 48 hours, I was at the proverbial bottom, fighting for my life. I mean, it was just such a juxtaposition.
And tell us about that, like what had happened.
Well, it was a perfect storm of so many things. One part of it, language that we know between us is like a full stage 4 adrenal fatigue, like totally trading health for wealth by overdoing it. I was exercising, but I was training for endurance marathons at the time, Boston times, while sleeping just a few hours a night, traveling the country, doing too much of everything, and trying to be a wife, and trying to be a mother. So just the lifestyle was unsustainable. Again, because there's no stopping to even smell the roses. It was just how much can I squeeze in a certain period of time and do that over and over and over, and there's a badge of honor to that I get so much shit done.
The whole I'll sleep when I'm dead and all that kind of mantra, right?
It's a mentality.
Yeah.
So is that, but then I didn't realize it, but heavy metal poisoning.
Really?
And it took 6 months to finally find this side of the world, the alternative world, the naturopathic side. But by the end of the time, no pharmaceuticals. I was on like 7 by the end of going doctor, trying to figure out what was wrong. I was dying of heavy metal poisoning, all my hair had fallen out. I just had got down to like 95 pounds.
Terrifying.
It was really terrifying. So, but anyway, we were, number one, the fear factor, fear when you know you're dying and you're facing that, you can't figure out what was wrong because everybody's saying nothing's wrong, it must be in your head. But then what happened beyond like the physical despair was existential despair. And anybody that's not reached that point of their life it's hell. It's a darkness. It's a level of suffering that is so horrific on so many levels. One, I just got stuck in this depression and this anxiety, stuck in this perpetual state of fight or flight, that full adrenal fatigue where I couldn't calm down. I had to wear a heart rate monitor. I'd have a panic attack like every 2 seconds. And this is somebody who had her shit together.
Yeah.
So it was just this horrific way of living and living in fear and darkness and this fear of dying and not being ready. But the worst part of it with this was this emotional, psychological realization, what I call it, the only word I have is existential despair. That here I was realizing that I'm dying and I've not even fucking lived yet. I got it all wrong.
Right.
All that shit, the stuff, the status, the achievements, the awards, the Boston Marathon, this or that or whatever, I didn't give a shit about it. I just wanted my life back. And then I realized, oh my God, I sacrificed time with my children, my husband, all in this constant pursuit, and none of that matters. And, just then I just regretted my life.
And now it might be over?
And now it's over. And so it was this horrible, horrible place of I just screwed it all up and I just want a second chance. And as silly as it sounds, I made this wager with the universe. I get it. I screwed it up. I know you've been trying to talk to me this entire time, but I've just had such this big ego that I thought I was in charge of all of this.
Right.
And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I get it. Why? So I'm lucky that I'm still here, but my
was
wager
that a singular event when you had that moment of reflection and remorse and that I'm sorry moment?
It was not a It was over long, day by day, like I was begging the universe. And this is even not knowing what was wrong yet. And I mean, I would journal. I've read my journal since then, and it's like, oh my God. But it was this constant, like daily, I get it. I'm so sorry. I just need a second chance. I'll do it right the second time. And that's been my promise. And it's like I changed my entire life, that when I was given this chance at a second life, really, I've made it my mission now to really teach kind of what I learned during that horrific point in time. And it's really, to your point, to kind of answer the question, is I was in that rat race of the achievement mindset. And now, I know I'm more successful now than I've ever been. From the way I feel, from the outside looking in, they probably, in my industry, like what happened to Krisstina, she just kind of fell off. But in my mind, and if you quantify it with true wealth, I'm so much more successful financially and business-wise. But the success of our family and the children and the unit and how it's changed our lives because I changed me and how that's rippled out. And now there's meaning and fulfillment and real relationships versus the relationships just an agenda to sort of...
Right, this person can connect me with that person, et cetera, et cetera.
What was that process like? Like you don't wake up the next day and like, oh, I just changed. But how often do you have to put yourself in check? Do you go back into old mindset? Like, how do you
It's not so much going back to old mindset, because I think the realization was so big, but it's certainly patterns, like certain type A personalities and that sort of thing. Like I still have to okay, I think I'm getting to that phase where I can be almost overdoing it again. Right. So now let's check back and some checks and balances to just because it would be easy to kind of fall back into the pattern of overdoing it or trying to squeeze too much in or be a productivity hog or whatever labels we want to give it. But now the interesting thing is like the calculated thing and comparing now, like even it's quantifiable far greater, but emotionally, spiritually, and just fulfillment wise, it's like to what you guys were saying, what you're doing, it's what I call magical contingencies. It's that, we have goals and some intentions and putting it out there, but it's leaving the rest of it up to chance. Where we're doing our best, I'm doing my best version of me today, but tomorrow I'm going to be different, hopefully maybe a little better, or at least learn from a very stupid mistake I made the day before. But then it's like, universe, kind of take me where, and then pop, I meet you guys, right? They're doing this beautiful work, and your mission and your voice, you're getting out there, and now I get to know you because the magic, I couldn't have calculated, like, oh, I want to meet those guys and be on their podcast.
I can't be rigid and do that. Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Isn't that where, like, life really shows up, and the beauty of life is in the uncalculated moments?
Well, it's the same thing just in this little microcosm of this event. We tried not, like, people are like, oh, let's plan it and, like, get the numbers down and stuff, and it's like, but if we do that, then we might not have the time for whatever might open up, and things just evolve.
It is a balance, because when you're running a business, you do have to do some of that, but it's just making sure you don't fall into the pattern of being so calculated and try to squeeze so much in.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. The rigidity is like the enemy in a way, is kind of like the adversary, and in microcosms it just mimics all that. And like Mark was talking about being flexible, going into ketosis to make your metabolism flexible, like just doing it for short periods and the health benefits therein, but like any rigidity on either end of it. And then I was thinking about it, like to take space for meditation has been so crucial, just in as much as if I'm going, I have tasks, I have this, I have like, my list will never be finished, right? Like, I don't think you're never at the end of your emails. I mean, this girl works crazy out, like, and it's so the list will always be there. And I remember Logan Gelbrick, who is a great friend that owns Deuce Gym, and he was talking about first time he was working for his dad's friend, and he's the only white kid that's in the shipping room for these shoes, and he's putting the shoes in, and he wants to do a good job. He wants to show everybody else, I'm not just the friend of the boss's kid and all that kind of thing. And the guy's like, hey, those shoes are never going to stop coming. They're all, and like my list is never going to be over. So I don't need to race to the end of it. And if I don't take the time to concentrate on thinking nothing, there is no creation or imagination that comes in to make that fresh again. And that's what I think that can take out into the largest macrocosms. Like, we don't ever breathe or pause. And I think we're trained that way with hysteria because we're looking for external reflections of ourselves, and that's not the way. I mean, and until we break down, it's crazy. We don't learn it until we're at I got to go to the bitter end of the wrong path and go, oh, I guess this wasn't the way. Everybody was telling me that wasn't the way all along. I'm like, you know what? Save it.
I'm smarter,
So it'll be different.
For me, it'll be different, right?
Yeah. I have a problem with like the goal setting thing, or I don't know if it's a problem, but like so rigid and like, here's the goal, get to the goal, do the next goal, do the thing, blah, blah, blah. Never check in with the what does it feel like. I've been doing the desire map process, which is like an interesting thing where you're like, instead of the goal, how do I want to feel? Instead of the thing, how do I want to feel at this next point? Or what do I want this whole thing to feel like?
As opposed to having?
As opposed to, I want to have this kind of living situation with this thing, but how do I want to feel in 6 months? And you start like applying that tool, and that's a totally different type of goal, and it's a check-in goal with yourself, and so that's been super helpful. But I've totally fallen into that.
I can't believe you've been keeping that a secret.
Boom, boom. I just started it, and I haven't been because it's been all over Instagram. and then I'm hearing like the how this is like a microcosm for what could be. I mean, I really feel like this is we're living in the future right now at events like this, and then the general population will know about it down the road or whatever. But as Doc was sharing some of your dad's health and how that industry is for him, and even with a guy that's like another reputable doctor, like, not my doctor, I'm going to take this advice over here, and how has that all changed your narrative and your life plan, and what was that experience like?
Well, it's been interesting because going through the health system personally, Gary and I went through that. It was one thing going through it personally, desperate, seeking an answer, only exposed to traditional medicine, never gone to a doctor before. So I couldn't even believe I was sick because I'd never been sick, and so sick. I mean, that's how much I was ignoring me and that life that I was in, because I was very sick and had no clue, nor did anyone else. But going through that system of doctor, and them telling you just take a pill, and they don't really listen. But again, I was sick, so I just went through that experience at first person. Now, watching it as my father, as an observer, and seeing it really in action versus a different sort of emotional, being the one, is that I just noticed so many things now, like lessons, sort of like helping me relearn some lessons or see them even more powerfully. But one is this tendency, and I was there before till I finally figured out I had to heal myself, that a doctor couldn't do it, but it's this natural, I don't know if we've just been taught this way or what it is, but it's this desire to just the doctors tell me what to do.
Right.
Sure.
The doctor have the answer. The doctor is like this God. And so we go in, and I just have to tell you a quick story. The first oncologist, so we went in, my dad's kind of this old Army guy, and he didn't even know he's really sick. Same thing. He was sick, had no idea, like stage 4 cancer, dying, 3 months to live. But the first doctor says, the oncologist we go in, that was some referral his primary guy gave him, said, wouldn't look at my dad in the eyes. My dad's sitting over here on the examining table. The oncologist puts the stethoscope, does like a 1-minute little breathe for me sort of thing. Then dad's sitting over there. I'm in there because they wanted me there. And the doctor looks at me and he says, okay, we need to amputate your dad's leg. Whoa. And we need to take it up at the hip socket. And then you need to probably go ahead and order hospice and get that ready. And XYZ. And just 3 bullet points. We're so in shock, like we didn't even know he had cancer, and we're like being told you have 3.
And here's the end.
And here's the end, and we're going to cut off.
And we're going to amputate, even though,
the whole thing. And I, even with what I know, was so shocking, like this emotional surge of shock that I couldn't even think straight. But then we kind of get out of there, and we're all trying to deal with this. My dad's saying, well, how much longer do I have? And the doctor says maybe 3 months, and he walks out. So that's like the system. Now, here's the scary thing, that if if I had not been there with my father,
Is that okay?
he would be missing a leg right now.
Right.
The guy would be dead because a young man can't recover from an amputation,
Right.
dealing with lung cancer and the whole 9 yards. So,
And psychically, not even to mention psychically.
Yeah, if you decide, I've been told this thing.
Exactly. So that's the system, and I just, I cringe at the thought of what have happened. And I questioned the doctor a few things, did not like it, but we left. We got a second opinion. Now, just to close that loop a little bit, just how ridiculous this is. So, amputate the leg. I've come to find out about the healing powers of, let's say, cannabis. Didn't know anything about cannabis before. Never even tried it my entire life. It's not like this was some normal thing for me. But after research, and so my dad, we made cannabis butter, trying to figure out this stuff. He rubs on his legs every day, no pain. One doctor was going to cut off his leg. And we just did some research, and
We just rubbed a plant on it, and
and another doctor, the second doctor, put him on hydrocodone to manage his pain. And I said, you're on a
That'll kill you.
narcotic. You're like checked out. Let's at least try this. So fortunately, he was open to it. I'm surprised, but he was. And I say, how's your leg feel, Dad? I don't know. I didn't even put any butter. He calls it snake oil butter on it today, and it feels just fine. But just
awesome.
Isn't that like? Oh my God,
We're taught to not be responsible for our own bodies and ask those questions and research our own things. It's just like whatever somebody tells us, they know best, whatever. But really, we know best because we can actually feel our own bodies. We know what we're feeling. We know how it is, and we have to experiment with that.
But that's missing.
Yeah, we don't have that in our culture.
It's just not cool.
Well, the other thing is when you're in it, you're scared. You're taking advice from what you think is the best source of advice, and really, it's probably more important, maybe equal, whatever, depending. But like, you wouldn't go to court without a lawyer, and you probably shouldn't go see a doctor without an advocate if you're sick. I've been standing with this guy in Santa Fe for a while who's in an old folks home, and it's the same kind of thing. And he's old, so he's disregarded, and they have a list of stuff that they put him on. He can't sleep, we'll give you oxycodone. And then he can't poop for 4 days. I'm like, why can't we do that? I'm like, what is he on? And then I start spraying CBD, and he's like, oh, I sleep great. It's a wonderful trip. And there's no downside to that. Zero downside. It's just crazy. And you really do. You need an advocate. Even being young and healthy. You don't have to be old but like that fear, frustration, that's a bad decision maker. Like, and if you're asking me, I need a decision right now, I'm going to make a bad decision if I'm forced into that. I need somebody to be there with me.
And we're taught that every commercial that's on TV, everything is selling something or preaching about something, and we're just taught to trust that. So now it's like whoever has the dollars to spend on a commercial, we're like, oh, this is the thing I should be doing. I can buy it at the store, I can whatever. And that's kind of the movement behind our movement, which is, to pirate your life back, which is like kind of go against the grain, question all these things. Maybe all of that stuff is just somebody trying to make money, and that was never a concept that was put into our heads, and we're just kind of drones out there.
It's ingrained to give the power over the doctors. Doctors are the gods, and maybe it's general. I think it's just not just to do with my dad's generation, but they found another oncologist. They like the oncologist far better than the first one, but the oncologist is telling my dad, watching my father now, that wasn't a sick man until he was told he was a sick man. Now he's a sick man. But dying or not, he's a sick, dying man versus before, he didn't even know. So, he wasn't sick then. But then with this doctor, the doctor's saying, okay, to my dad, if you do not eat more calories, you're a dead man.
Right.
And so, but my dad says, well, my daughter says I should be on this ketogenic diet and I should do X, Y, Z. And he's like, that is flat out wrong. A ketogenic diet can kill you.
It can kill you.
Because there's keto something that's
that one person out of 4 billion get. Yeah.
Insulin resistance.
Right.
So, and then it doesn't matter. Eat anything. Go get yourself ice cream. What's your favorite dessert?
Just load yourself with calories, whatever they are.
Pancake syrup. So I didn't know that the doctor had said this, and so Gary and I go over because we go see my dad almost every day because they live very close. We walk into their kitchen. There's Aunt Jemima syrup and Bisquick powder on the kitchen counter. And I'm just like, oh my God. And my dad's, and it kind of causes friction. So I'm like, what the hell are you guys eating?
Right.
And my dad looks at me and says,
The doctor
I
said
can't
so.
be between, I can't have the conflict between what the doctor says and what you're saying. I just have to
damn
believe the
it.
doctor.
Yeah.
So please basically stop. And so it's at that point, like I'm looking and saying, I think we can help him by extending his life. The ketogenic diet's proven to help because sugar loves cancer and XYZ. But just this mainstream conventional medicine is so far detached where they do not believe nutrition has anything to do with disease or cancer.
Right.
But my dad's made the choice of two things. One, doctor's God, so he's just going to believe the doctor. Like, and I know, you know, he knows I have good intentions, and that the conflict is stressful. But the second piece is watching him, and I noticed it comparing to me before I finally realized I had to take my own health back. Like the doctors couldn't save me, I had to.
Right.
But that he wants no responsibility of this. He's not responsible. He's not saying, I'm going to do this and we're going to do this and we're really going to figure this out together. He's given his life over to, okay, tell me, doctor, am I living or dying? Tell me what I'm to do every single day. I'm going to wait around to see what the next chemo treatment, what he tells me from the next chemo treatment. He's just sitting around waiting, hoping maybe something will change based on what the doctors will tell him.
Right.
And that's the most painful thing to watch, actually.
Yeah.
It's just the complete abdication of the power of his own life and livelihood and the enjoyment of whatever time he has left. It's just he's given it away.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing. I was talking to a guy yesterday about he was saying, well, why wouldn't people just do this and that? Because he's all into this whole movement. And I thought, man, it's not like that. People want, by and large, they don't want to, I mean, if you ask most people and say, what are the 3 macronutrients that you're eating? They're not going to, 80% or so won't know. That's just not part of their makeup, let alone what those things do. And so when you say that, they're like, well, just tell me what to do. Why do you make your coffee with MCT? What is all that? I go, well, here's what this. No, I don't want to know all that. Just tell me what to do. I just want to be in better shape, or I just want to. And it's like that's not what I'm selling, man. Like I don't care about that. I need a conversation, and I need you to carry that conversation because we're the only thing that's helping us in that way. I think doctors, as well-meaning as they are, unless I'm in a car accident or something, I'm probably not going to see a doctor. Because for a couple reasons, but like the DOMs that are out there or chiros, they're in ongoing health conversations all the time, and it's an ever-changing conversation. And if I get an MD, I'm not doing a lot of ongoing education probably. I have the one hammer with which to pound the one nail, and so everything looks similar to me. And I just can't trust that kind of thinking, you know? And I think it's harder for old people. Thank God your dad's into cannabis. I remember, the lady that helped raise me, Mary Jane Bauer, she passed away from cancer also, and couldn't, all the things that happen, right? But was so resistant to anything having to do with marijuana or cannabis that she just wouldn't, because that was the bad thing that the kids got in trouble with, et cetera, et cetera. She's on these high doses of horrific, mind-altering, psychotic-inducing almost.
Giving people heroin, but it's not okay
crazy
to have a plant medicine that's like never been shown to have an overdose or do anything.
Well, we're doing it illegally. I mean, we're buying it illegally. We're here in Texas. We're making it illegally. I'm saying this publicly.
Oh, God.
But, putting ourselves at risk. The kids are like, Mother, please be quiet. But, it's like worth the risk because, if this is going to help my dad, put me in jail. I don't care. I'm going to work. I'm going to do what it is.
Because guess who's not helping? Pfizer.
Exactly.
I mean,
They don't.
That's the thing.
They don't want that to be helpful. What, along those subjects, I think, like Tait said, if you go to the doctor, they're going to use the same nail, you're going to use the same thing. For you, especially with the metal toxicity, that's not something that you really test for that often. And I've actually had probably 3 people I know in recent conversations that have been sick or not feeling that great. Energy levels low. They just thought that they were like working too hard or stressed out and it was normal. And then through their own research and testing and like forcing different things to be tested under regular medical care, finding out that they had metal toxicity or some sort of allergy or things that wouldn't normally be addressed as opposed to just like getting a Band-Aid cure to feel better. What was that process like for you, or what different measures did you have to look at to get to that point?
It was universal intervention. So because I didn't know this whole world that you guys are in, we did not know about. Like I said, we're just kind of in the Western world, if you will. And so it was actually just by happenstance that I'd met this functional medicine doctor at this mastermind business retreat that we had gone to like a year before or so. And I really liked her, but she said what she did. In my mind, I thought, what a bunch of hocus pocus. Like,
that was when I was a kid. If you're a chiropractor or you're a naturopath, like that's like
some
you're a
witchcraft
quack. Like one of my girlfriends became a naturopath, and it's like whatever the initials are, and my dad would be like, that's not a doc. It's like, you're not a doc. Like, and it's just this as kind of a overall degradation of anything that's other than this MD in a weird coat that doesn't have any purpose at all, except to show that you're in charge of everybody or something.
Yeah, I remember her talking and saying supplements and paleo diet and all these things now and I just thought, well, that's kind of quackery, but I liked her as a person. But at this point, I was so desperate, and I was just now willing to try anything. If somebody said, okay, if you go to Africa and hang upside down from some special tree, we would have gone. You know, I mean, I was so open-minded at this point. But anyway, I thought, you know what? I should call her, because I remember she had some quackery things she was talking about. So, long story short, I'd call her. She actually takes my call, and even though she wasn't really doing any personal work anymore, any sort of like clinical or personal clients, but she's more of an author and doing the other things now. But she said, okay, let's talk. It was great meeting you, and I felt like, you know, we're kind of kindred spirits in some way, and let me talk. So versus a 15-minute conversation, like all the other ones, she spends, you know, the nice 3 hours with us, and this is over Skype because she's outside of Atlanta. But anyway, she asked me all these questions, and I'm even thinking, like, why is she asking about like my childhood? Why is she asking about, you know, in vitro? Why is she asking me about? But I just went with it. I'm just going, like, right now, I'm just like, I don't care.
Like vaccines and things like that.
All those sort of things. But, you know, she really believes like our health even starts in vitro and that sort of thing. But she finally asked me, like at the very end of a long list of questions, both personal and physical, she said, have you had any dental work done recently? I'm like, well, yeah, now that you mentioned it, this is in February. Well, by this time, I got sick. Where I sort of just broke down was in February, and then it got precedentingly worse. But in November and December and January, I had all my amalgams taken out, all my mercury fillings, and I had like a titanium post put in for an implant, and I got like this cosmetic teeth whitening. I mean, I just had all this tons
all
of
these
dental
things
work.
went in, and your gums are the most receptive.
I told her all about this, and she said, Krisstina, you have heavy metal poisoning. You have mercury poisoning. She called it mercury poisoning. And I said, you know, not knowing what that is. So we get all the toxicology tests, but I didn't just have mercury. I had mercury, thallium, rubidium, cadmium, lead. The list goes on. And I was to the right, like on the graph, it's green, yellow, and red. And then there's a scale of red, and I was to the very right of all these. And she actually did it again because she thought you wouldn't be alive based on what I can see if you were this level, but it came the same
You're
thing.
like, you should meet my dad. We're resilient.
So anyway, that's how we discovered it. And like I said, it was just sort of universal intervention that I called her out of the blue, out of desperation. And then, you know, I was so sick by this point. My organs were shutting down. All my hair was falling out. I couldn't keep food down. I didn't want to eat. And, you know, it was sort of, they had to find this approach. They couldn't go too aggressive because I was so sick by this time. But I was so sick, they needed to go kind of aggressive. So poor Gary. I mean, we went, and I had IVs in both arms, one pumping in minerals, one taking stuff out. And I was so sick by this time and just anxious and depressed and couldn't sleep. I mean, I'm like 75% a dead person just going through the motions at this piece. But clearly I'm supposed to be here, so that's a good thing. But that was it. Since then, though, you know, the question is how the hell did I get all these things?
Right. Where does the rest of it come from?
Yeah, and one is just growing up, I grew up in probably a very impoverished background, and just living in kind of a shitty environment, and just all the chemicals and foods and the lifestyle I was living, all those things add on. But I have since discovered that I do, you know, genetically, I have a very compromised methylation system. And so I don't methylate properly. And it's the MTHFR and a whole host of other sort of genetic SNPs and mutations that my body just doesn't methylate.
Right.
So
methylate meaning assimilate and disperse whatever toxins come in.
Yeah, really the detox of, you know, of the system. So, you know, so I'm on supplements now, but diet's very important. I have to live in very clean environments because I have just genetically, my body does not detoxify. So it'd be in a lifetime of all these things, you know, an unhealthy lifestyle, an unsustainable lifestyle combined with a system that doesn't regulate. I mean, my lifestyle would probably cause anybody to get sick, but you add that on to it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was sick in so many levels, but that's, you know, that was what, you know, that was my
where you finally
situation,
caught it.
Right,
Yeah.
why I caught it.
I mean, amazing that you did that. Had you gone normal routes, you might have never found that out.
Never.
Yeah, because that's not something that's normally tested for.
Right.
You go into a regular doctor and you're like a quack asking for certain like blood level tests, and you know, we want to test like our omega-6 to omega-3 ratio and stuff like that. And they're like, why would you want to test that? Like, I want to know.
Why do I know more than you?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I don't know anything, and it seems like you know less. That seems like I'm in the wrong room.
Can I just pay for that? That seems like it could.
That's. I've got a friend that is like, you talk about metal detox. He's been on Paxil and antidepressants, and he'd been off for 4 years in varying degrees. But anytime he goes down below like a milligram or whatever it is, the lowest point before he's going to get off, he goes into deep black holes, and where he blanks out for days and doesn't know why he's in the car on the same route to work, and like detoxifying from what the solutions are that we're given is. That's a whole new industry in a way. It's like, how do you detoxify from big pharma? How do you detoxify from overhead power lines that are like all of it, man? And vaccines. And that becomes the real endeavor, I think, for this thing, is like how to eat ourselves into health. Like, instead of being taught like you're born broken and you're going to need some pills to get through this thing. Going back to eating towards health, but then also there's some undoing that has, and then also the question is can you undo all these things? And I think the jury's out on that.
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot more disease, and you know, where I love, you know, I'm a money person, and so what I like to do is tell the health story to a lot of those in the health industry, but then to compare it to money. So that's really what I teach now. It's wealthy, and it's the intersection of health wealth and money wealth, and to really that money and health are the same thing. And so that what I see now on the money side of the equation is just like on doctors, we abdicate our health to the doctors, but I see that we abdicate our money to the planners, or the money out to someone else, because there's a lack of knowledge or this belief that I'm not smart enough, or that's hard, or you know,
somebody take care of me.
Somebody take care of me.
Or I could get rich quick with some trick that
so,
I don't know.
Same thing is like on the money side, we have to learn. We need to have a good money diet. We need to have we need our assets to be greater than our liabilities, meaning we need to be focused on financial health, financial fitness, financial wellness. And the parallels are really unbelievable in the mirror. So that's part of my message, is that just like we need to take care of our body and be empowered and learn and take control and pay attention and do some quantification, we have to do that on the money side as well. So there's this holistic nature of health wealth and money wealth, so that we can really have the resources, the physical resources and the financial resources to live fully.
And so what would the nature of, that was going to be my next question, is what is your mission statement, or where you're going, and then like the inception of this and then the manifestation of this? If somebody approaches you, how do you go about working with them?
Well, so before on the money and business side, and I was good at that, and then when I learned that I was responsible for getting my health back, I had to go learn health. You know, what you guys have done. You've done it for you, is learning like, oh, I do know more than a lot of the doctors now sometimes. But it's that study of desire to be healthy, of desire to be in charge of my own life, to feel empowered, be responsible for my good choices and my bad ones, and to know that this is a lot of information and there's a lot to learn over time. And I'm giving myself all the time in the world, just continue to be in the wonder and curiosity of how to improve my health, and how much is enough too. How much good enough might be enough. That it doesn't have to become dogmatic. But on that, I mean, the only reason why I'm still here is, one, I found the right help, but two, I reached a point where I took responsibility for turning my life around. Like, I took the power back and realized, like, if it is to be, it really is up to me. I had to change my mindset. I had to change my environment. I had to go get a lot of help. I had to really relook at my entire life and educate and learn. So that's where it was realizing, like, part of the things on my deathbed, other than what happened during the existential despair and kind of coming out the health on the other side, were a couple different paradoxes that really just were right in front of me. And one is that money matters more than anything. And I had a certain belief system about that beforehand, but it was that pursuit belief. But money matters more than anything. But the reason why I still believe that to be true is that if we did not have the financial resources, it took us easily $250,000 cash, because we were prudent on the money side of the equation and had assets and net worth. But it was that money that saved my life. We're able finally to afford the functional medicine doctors and all the help it actually took for me to help reverse my disease. So
all of which is uncovered by insurance.
All of it was uncovered by insurance. So that was real. Like, money is so important that I am convinced you cannot convince me that I would be here today if it weren't for our money.
Right.
So that's real stuff. That's where money matters. That's where money hits the road, and it can make a difference between life and death, even though that's not politically correct to say so. And even though we don't really want to believe that to be truth, that's just hardcore truth that I realized.
Well, I love what you're saying, because I think it's the first thing when I remember the first time I wasn't a check to check, and then I thought, I've got to become a good steward of this. I need to be responsible, and knowing that I didn't know how to do that, and I was in my late 30s, you know, and that's a weird place to be, like what you're talking about, but to be, and it was the same thing in reverse, to be a good steward of my health. I care about that. Why am I degrading this aspect of having any wealth at all as if it's a bad thing? And that's precisely what I was doing, because I didn't understand it. So it's easier to say, oh, these greedy people that are focused on that kind of, and you start to compartmentalize based on my own weaknesses and shortcomings, you know? That's what an interesting, like, this is super interesting to me.
Yes, but it's that part, but where I had it messed up before, even though we were financially very prudent and had the cash, it still wasn't, the money didn't matter, because on my deathbed, we gave it all away to get my health back.
Right.
So how could it be so more important than anything? But then the exact opposite is true. It's not about the money. So I was really left with this polarity of, like, money matters more than anything, but it's not about the money. It's the money matters more than anything, but money doesn't matter. So
these paradoxes in life that those are to come up everywhere.
Right, right. And it's finally accepting what, kind of the truth, the definition of a paradox is two conflicting truths at the same time. So that really became a really good mission for me, is to reach the place of teaching of living this, and then teaching the space, or getting to this place where money matters more than anything, but it's not about the money. And then to reconcile that, to help people understand how important money is to health. I mean, especially if you're going to be healthy, your coffee isn't free, right? So it's understanding that, and being okay with, and talking about that it's okay that money matters more than anything. But when it matters before everything else, that's where it becomes lopsided. So then what there can be, though, is something I call money and meaning. And when we can be okay where money is important and we feel good about it, and there's no shame or guilt or whatever feeling, whatever the narrative we have from money is carried over from our childhood. So like anything in life that goes unexamined, where we can't step outside and say, why do I have kind of these fucked up money beliefs? Well, we're just going to carry them for the rest of our life and stay stuck in those stories. That's the same in every category of our life. But money's a real one, because money is real, so real in life that it affects families at a level, it affects children at a level that upbringing sticks with you, and it's inside of us. I mean, it's subconscious. We can't see it. We adopt these financial narratives from our, that just grow up with. So what it really takes is, like everything in life, but especially with finance, since it's so important, we have to look back and say, why do I have those money beliefs? Are those real money beliefs? Are they my money beliefs, or are they someone else's? And then just sort of challenge those. Like, do those serve me? What are some other money beliefs where it is more philosophical aligned, where money's okay and it's meaningful, and it's this money for the good it can do versus sort of these other things I believed it was?
I remember the shift that I had from, and I still sometimes have these like old thoughts, but going from eating like the dollar menu at a fast food place because I wanted to save my money, because the goal was to save as much money as possible to buy the house or have the thing or whatever. And I'll eat crap that will kill me, that I don't feel good on, that I physically can't do more work that could make me more money or could result in something. And then changing the question in my head, like, what's the cheapest thing I could order, to what's the healthiest thing I could order, and having that inner conflict for like a year, maybe 2 years, as I was shifting that diet and shifting that like idea in my head, and then feeling guilty about it. Like, I'm spending so much money on food, or I'm spending so much money on my health, I'm spending so much money on me, and having to accept that and realize that like the goal isn't the savings, and sure, it's good to be smart and have savings and have things to be there, but also to make sure the quality of life is in this place, and that allows me to actually do more and make more money, and it kind of
that's such a
perpetuates.
That's such a great narrative to have. But part of, as a money person, I'm probably the only money person I know that teaches money this way. But when we think of money, when we think of the balance sheet side or the asset side, when we get there, that's where net worth is. But on the balance sheet, there's something on the balance sheet that's called an asset. There's assets and liabilities, and we want our assets to be greater than our liabilities, obviously. But assets are what you're building when you're building your net worth. You want heavy loaded assets. That's what you want to show up. Well, what I teach as far as assets, there's a couple different things. Is that one, what is an asset? And then there's different categories of assets. And I teach there's basically fundamentally 3 assets. But the first asset is our body. So as a financial expert or author, whatever you want to call me, I don't even know what to call myself, but as somebody that teaches money and teaches net worth and teaches passive income creation, I'm saying that your body's your number one asset. And I mean an asset. And an asset meaning, okay, you invest in assets to produce a return, and you live off the return. That's the goal of financial asset building. So your body is your number one asset, not your 401k, not your RA, not your real estate, not whatever your first one. So that's easy to understand. Everyone in this industry, even interviewing Mark Sisson on my interview this morning, he said it. He said, my body is my number one asset. I'm like, yes, that's
his body sells products.
That's true too.
Dude, he just showed me some topless pictures of him 10 years ago versus last week or something, and I'm impressed.
Silver fox. He's a silver fox.
But our body's our number one asset, and part of what I want to share, at least with my audience, it's outside the scope, and it sounds like yours is too, outside these 4 walls, where this is a kind of a small community. But it's understanding that if we do accept that our body's our number one asset, is that there has to be a financial investment. It's time and money that's what you use to build asset and portfolio. So that's outside the scope. What we're talking about earlier is that people don't want to invest in their health. They feel guilty if they spend money on good food, or it's just missing that my body is my number one asset. I should, and then it's like people get pissed off if they have to spend $25 on a copay and all this uproar with insurance and everything else. We need catastrophic. We do need insurance, but we need to sock money away. So part of my financial approach or methodology is like straight off the top, you put money in a bucket that goes towards investing in your number one asset. The second asset then really is business. When you're a business, whether you're a business or it's career, I teach to treat your career as a business. But then it's like, how do you look at your business as an investment, and if you reinvest there? And then the third asset class then is financial assets. And those are other financials that, there's all different types of classes that you can start to build your net worth through the financials. But it's really important once you start thinking, I'm number one as a financial asset. Because what happens is that when I was on my deathbed, a couple different things. One, we're business owners. We lost our income-making ability. I was sick. I couldn't work anymore. My husband was sick. I mean, he was a full-time caretaker. Our business, our income vanished basically within a few months when that starts to break down. So not only one, our number one asset's what we use, number one, to make working income to pay the bills, but 2, to change the world, to make our impact, to manifest our mission and our vision.
So interesting. Everybody will say money money doesn't matter. This what are you doing on Monday? And everybody will say they're going to their job. And if it doesn't matter, if you really believe that, if you really had teeth in that, you would choose another way. You would be on an island somewhere. You would choose something that clearly it matters, because you're spending only the non-renewable asset that you have, which is your time, to go and do this thing on somebody else's regimen, and you're selling yourself out for whatever it is. Like, I mean, there's the reality that we're selling ourselves, that we're prostituting ourselves to the world, is maybe not a popular one, but everybody's doing it, and then we're just talking about market prices and how to elevate ours. Like, that's the deal. And otherwise we're pretending it doesn't happen. It's almost like you're asking a population to live in a lie if you want to tell them that fiscally that stuff is not important.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
it's crazy. It's like a kind of mental slavery.
It is,
almost.
and it's this belief that we shouldn't be vested in our own health, that we shouldn't pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, that we, this unwillingness to pay for our health. And so but once we can accept, I'm number one, I produce the money and experience life, that I lost on my deathbed. I had the money, I'd had the status, I had all those things, but I was suffering. I was in pain.
Also, if you look at cost,
couldn't experience anything.
I tell this to people all the time. Will be like, how do you afford to eat at whatever? You shop at Whole Foods, you shop at Irwin, blah blah blah. And I say, okay, like, you can look at it two ways. First of all, look at your bar bill probably from last weekend, and look at my grocery bill for the week.
Yeah, that's
probably cheaper. So that's for most people. But also, if you look at your health over time and how much money you had to spend to get out of that hole that you were in, that is so much bigger than my little grocery bill every week, and whatever that is, the supplements I take or the time that I take at the gym. For the long term, like, your medical bills are going to be catastrophically bigger, and there's tons of stats out there and research. And stuff that shows
an analogy I give there. It's like your car. Nobody wants to spend the money to get an oil change, rotate their tires, and take care.
Versus,
but if you don't do that, how much is it going to cost by trying to save the money or just being unwilling to change the oil, rotate the tires, doing the preventative stuff, or putting don't want to put the special gas in, the high octane gas or whatever. So that everything's a choice, and it's all consequence. But ultimately, the cost is much greater in the end.
Sure.
By not making the investment up front.
Sure.
But we never think about our future selves. We always go, I'll wing it then, but I'm like, why?
I'll deal with it when it gets there.
Why am I going to cause that future guy problems? And that's like, it took a long time before I started thinking about that I had a choice in that.
It's kind of hilarious. It's like buying life insurance. Like, you're betting that you're going to die, basically. You're insuring other people in your life, and you're betting against yourself. And you'll buy these like extended plans. I always joke with my dad about this because he's got like 3 policies because he's so into making sure to protect us. But then he refuses to spend, more money at the grocery store for something that's organic or like whatever. He'll buy the cheapest on sale. He'll even buy like the food that's like going bad on sale on Wednesdays or whatever it is. My mom's like, Dad's going to the store on Wednesday because it's like when they clear out the stuff. And I'm like, that is crazy. But yeah, he's got that life insurance.
But it's
policy. Like that's how our minds are made.
Yep.
And the whole thing about what you reflect from your childhood, and to not be self-reflective and go, why do I have these kind of dire ideas about the way the universe is, and that constant, like, even this, like, paleo effects has changed drastically from last year, the year before, to this year, to be different next year. And it's like, and the conversations are different because we know more, we grow more, the world is changing and shifting, and it's like, it's the person's ability to adjust to that world, I think, that is the success of it. And what does that mean is that you have to be aware, you have to be paying attention. You can't have somebody else, the doctor, whomever, be paying attention for you, because you can't just trust that that's going to be well served.
You know what's great about this community and ones like this is that everybody reserves the right to change their mind. So it's an evolved mindset that, okay, we thought this last year, but now that we're researching, trying these things, and we have all these case studies, we don't quite believe that anymore, but now we believe this. And then everybody accepts that, and we're all trying it and pitching in, as opposed to, no, this is the way, and it's the only way, and we're never going to change it. And so that's what I love.
We decided this thing.
Yeah, it's from 1970.
Well, and the worst example of that is because I have a widget to sell that meets this narrative, so I need this to be this. And it's like,
I want to scare you.
No, you
That's
want me to make believe.
thing.
And like, I think right now, more than anything, I'm more in tune with the idea that I was wrong about so much last year, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And if I've been wrong historically a lot, I've got to consider that right now in this moment, whatever it is that I believe is not correct. You know, and I'll do the best I can with the information I have, and then you go from there. But to not be in a continual
that's
question.
the medical community, is that there's a standard of care that was established decades ago that is just, it's no longer valid, yet they will go to their deathbed believing that exact methodology is true.
It's driven by fear of lawsuits and pharmaceutical companies, and those are the wrong approaches.
It is, exactly. But that's the thing, like, oh my God, so watching this with my father, I'm thinking, I cannot believe I'm witnessing this, you know? It's so true. All that stuff they're saying is true. I'm seeing it right here in front of me.
The strangest thing, too, about it is that in the healthcare industry, I marvel at in what poor condition a lot of the people that are selling the healthcare look like. I'm like, this is
hospital
crazy.
20 doctors and nurses outside smoking cigarettes, and you're like, what? Wait.
Right.
When MD Anderson, they're passing candy around in the
soda, candy,
soda,
and the oncologist.
In the chemo room. And when my dad
gotta keep this cancer going.
Yeah, they're giving him like packaged peanut butter crackers, so he has some food to eat and some blood sugar. It's like, oh my God.
Just give me a straw for the syrup. I'll just be here.
Exactly.
Sponsored by Carl's Jr. It's Idiocracy.
Right.
Well, how do people find you?
Wealthy. Just go to Wealthy Life, and you spell it here. You can put it
WEALTHY, WELLTHY.
So Wealthy. I have a podcast called Wealthy Life, and then I don't know. I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome.
Just Google my name.
I look forward to it. Thanks for sitting with us.
This was so much fun. Thank you. What an honor.
Yeah.